Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Freedom and Flow podcast. My name is Leandria. I'm your host and very happy that you're here. And this is episode 2. Okay, we only have how many episodes? 2. So I'm still very excited because the last episode was the first episode of the season, just in general. And we're going into episode 2, and I'm happy that you're back and we're jumping back in. And this podcast, the Freedom and Flow podcast, is about all things relationships, career, and life through a God-centered lens. And really, it's about empowering you to find freedom, embrace flow, and live with purpose. And you might be saying, find freedom from what? And that's a great question. And it's also a fill in the blank question because there are a lot of things that might hold us back, that might stop us from moving forward. So really finding freedom from those things, embracing flow because life just gonna always life. And sometimes you gotta embrace the flow, and living with purpose because I absolutely believe that we were all put here on this earth for a purpose, and we are called to live out that purpose in the best possible way that we can. So I love this podcast because I made it, but also because we get a chance to talk about different aspects of life and career, life, relationships. And today we're going to be talking about the career aspect. So if you saw my last episode, it went definitely deep into life, and especially it can, relate to all people, but especially for women and just navigating that just issues. And today we're going to talk about career. And as you saw, this episode is called I Can't Find a Job. Does God Care About My Career? And myself, as your host, I'm your host, but I'm also a coach. I'm a career and empowerment coach. I also like to call myself a career strategist. So there's coaching, but there's also strategy. I'm a solopreneur, a wife, a dog mom, a sister, a friend, and I'm your podcast host. But with putting the coach hat on today, we're going to talk about the career world and the job market. And you might be hearing these words and you're already getting a headache about it because if you're out here trying to find a job, it can be really hard right now in this season. So I'm here to bring you some encouragement on your path and journey forward. So we're going to dive right in. And in this episode, we're going to talk about just the aspect if you've been applying for positions and you feel like I cannot find a position, or let me say it this way, I've been applying to hundreds of positions and no one's hiring me. Okay, we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about maybe you feel like, yes, I'm looking for a job, but I have no clue what I want to do. You're telling me I have gifts. I have no clue what they are. We're going to talk about that. And then we're also going to look at it from, does God even care? Because I'm applying for all these positions, getting all these rejections, and it feels like he's not here. He doesn't care. And I just want to, spoiler alert, just answer the question for you. Does God even care about my career? And I want to say that yes, he absolutely does. Yes, he absolutely does. And we're going to talk about that. And so I do want to approach this from two different lenses. I do believe that there is a coaching aspect to this topic we're going to talk about today, and then there's a strategy aspect. So as I mentioned, I'm a coach, but I also like to call myself a career strategist because I do believe that you can be very clear on your goals, your brand, your career, your pathway forward, but have no strategy to get there. And maybe you might have strategy, you might have all the connects and networks, but you have no clue what you want to do. You're just very lost. You're just picking up one job at the other. So I want to approach this from two different lenses, but I do want to just give some stats overall around just the job market. So there's this organization called Pathrise, and they put out some data recently about the job market, looking at how many applications does it take and a few things. So I'm going to share just a few of that. So just listen here. Ultimately, they found that it is harder to find a good job in 2024 than it was in 2020. And I am seeing that. I do think that the market was tough in 23, and I think it became a bit tougher in 2024 because there are tons of layoffs that have happened. Big companies, Fortune 500 companies are being impacted, and they're laying off folks. And it's still happening today. I was working with a client this month. This is December 2024. And she works with a major hospitality company. And they recently just did a round of layoffs affecting hundreds, maybe thousands, but hundreds of employees. And we're in December 2024. So layoffs are still happening. And the more layoffs that happen, the more people are looking for jobs, the more people you have in the job market, things are concentrated. And so when you're applying for a position, you're competing against a lot of people and you can be qualified, okay? You can have all the qualifications, all the degrees, all the experience, and you may not get a call back. That does not mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're lacking, you're not effective. Is there ways to improve and grow? Always. But when you are in the process of applying, you have to expect rejections. And I don't like to say that because you're not being rejected, but you do have to expect that you're going to get, we're sorry, we decided to not move forward. And the more you get into the process, the harder it is to hear that. So I understand. And it's also an expectation. It's an expectation that you need to have when applying for positions, knowing that I'm going to get these emails back, or I may not even hear back, but I'm going to keep putting the bait out there so that you're getting more and more fish interviews. Okay, so we do know that it is harder to find a job in 2024 than it was in 2020. Job seekers, it took about 247 days for a job seeker to land a job. So I'm going to do some math on the spot here. But 247 days, we know that there's 365 days in a year. I'm just going to reduce that down to probably like around 5 to 6 months. Okay. 3 days times 6, that's about 180. So probably even more than that, probably like 8 months essentially. And what I'm seeing is more like 5 to 6 months, I will say. Again, this is December 2024. This could change. But what I am seeing and working with job seekers, it does take about 5 to 6 months. The first 2 months, even the first 3 months, it is a grind, and the goal is just to push out applications. That is the goal, because most companies are putting out a job posting and they may not get to it until a month later because they probably have a hiring committee. There's probably 3 to 5 people on that hiring committee. They have to schedule all these people to find time to review the applications, come back together, let's decide on the final ones. And it's a communication process internally that could take a long time, depending on the structure of the organization, how well organized they might be, a lot of different factors. So those first 3 months, yes, of course, the sooner you're going to interview, the better. But if you're looking for a job that you see yourself doing for long term, and long term means like 2 years, and that's funny because that's not even long term. But in this market, that's long term. So 2 to 3 years before you switch into maybe another position, and you want it to be a decent salary and you don't want to hate the job, then yes, that is typically the timeline. Now, if you're just looking for a job just to get a job, you can probably find one just working at the random store here or there. But again, if you're looking for a serious full-time position where you are advancing yourself as a professional, then it will take some time to hear back from folks. And if you hear back within those first 3 months, hallelujah, because God is good, right? So about data has shown it probably takes around 8 months to find the position. Personally, I've seen 5 to 6 months. Job seekers have sent in about 221 applications before landing a job. Just gonna let that sink in. 221 applications. That's a lot of applications. Okay, a lot. So, is it possible? Absolutely. I was talking with another client, and she was saying she was doing 25 applications a week. Yeah, about 25 applications a week, which is about 4 or 5 a day, which I actually think is a good amount. If you have the time to put out these applications, then go for that number. Now, I understand sometimes you might have a family, and family could just be your partner, because that's family. It could be partner and dog, okay? It can be partner, dog, children. All that's family, and you have a family they have to take care of. That can be a factor of how many can push out your job itself. If you're working a job, and you don't want it to make it look like you are leaving, then you have to be mindful of that. If you're not working a job, then you got 40 hours a week. That's your job. Find a job. But it does take time to push out applications. And it just depends on the industry that you're in as well. I would say if you are looking to work for major corporations, yes, you're going to push out that much. If you're looking to work in more of a niche environment where maybe you have a specialized skill set, maybe you don't push out 221. If you're already in the network and you just know people, then maybe you might be leveraging, yes, I'm pushing out applications and I'm leveraging a lot of conversations. Typically, it's never just a one-way track. You don't want to just say, all I'm going to do is push out applications. You do want to have a variety of things that you want to be doing. Pushing out applications, talking to your network, building a network, going to events, emailing folks, building informal connections, using LinkedIn. There are a variety of methods and strategies that you do want to be using. Okay, just I think another one here before we just move on is job seekers who applied to 20 plus jobs weekly got more interviews. So it goes to show that, yes, if you're applying to around 20, it is a numbers game and also a quality game. So you don't want to just use one resume and you're trying to apply to like 3 different buckets of positions. If you know, my only goal is to become operations manager, there you go. You push out those applications. If you're saying operations manager, but I'm also interested in program management, they're very similar, but they have some nuances that are a bit different. So you do want to have a resume that caters to those nuances. Okay. A side note, I also write resumes, so reach out if you need support. I do career coaching, but also write resumes, LinkedIn reviews, cover letters, interview prep, the whole 9 yards to get you that job. So all that to say is, it is hard out here. So if you feel like I'm on this journey, I've applied to all these positions, I've applied to probably like at least 100 positions, then you're actually on the right track, and to keep applying. Now, if you said I've applied to 500 positions, I have not got any callback, then there's something that we might need to tweak. And that takes me into these 2 buckets, career coaching and career strategy. Let's start with career coaching. Now, I think the realm of coaching and career coaching, we just call that, it's a really blanket term that we use. It covers all aspects of supporting clients who are towards landing their next position. But I will say this coaching aspect focuses a lot around providing clarity for the client. And that could be, I have gained 10 years of experience, but I don't want to do any of that. Or I want to find a new direction that I want to go into. Or I really like the first job I had, but that was about 15 years ago. How do I get back into that space? So there is some coaching that goes into just the navigation and knowing what your end goal is. Also part of that too is just, answering these questions. What is my career story? What is my calling/purpose? Where am I going? Like, I think these questions have to be answered before you can really start the job search process. Again, if you're just looking for a job, just get some money to come in, do what you got to do. All right. I used to work as a barista, and that was actually fun. I really enjoyed that. Now, would I do that full time as a position? I don't think so. But I did enjoy it, even though it was just a side thing to make some extra money. But as a professional, because you are a professional, what's really important is really creating some clarity for yourself. And I just want to give you 3 things to think about. And again, this goes more on the coaching aspect, where maybe you are still searching, trying to figure out what is next for me. I'm going to just give you 3 things to think about, or 3 questions to think about. The first question is, but let me back up. Even before the first question, I do want to say, God has given you gifts. You have been given gifts that are only unique to you for a reason, okay? And those gifts are there to help build, encourage, support other people. I don't believe gifts are given for you to just hold to yourself. They're given to support others around you. And if you're watching this, you probably might be in need of support, right? Just as much as we need support, there's probably people around us who need support as well. So your gifts are there to support others around you. I realized even at a young age that I had a gift, and y'all gonna be shocked that this is a gift. Okay, you ready? I had the gift of listening. You didn't know that was a gift. It's a gift, okay? I had a gift of listening, meaning people feel really comfortable just talking with me, and they feel so heard after sitting with me because I definitely am there in the conversation. But one thing I do is I listen and I ask questions, and they're not like surface level questions. They're like kind of deep questions. I wouldn't say I'm like a deep person, but I can only do small talk for just so long. Like just to get us warmed up, I'll ask you about the weather. Where'd you get your outfit? I like your nails. Ooh, how was your holiday? Like I'll start there. And then from there, I got you warmed up. Now I'm going deeper. Okay. But I think ultimately, in terms of gifts, like I really do enjoy listening to people and hearing what they have to say. And then part of that is just asking, like being really intentional about the questions I ask folks and making them feel as if that they've been heard, they've been validated. And if needed, if they want this, that they're being challenged in how they see things. So that's a gift that I realized that I had. And I found a career that allows me to listen. And as a coach, I am always listening. Do I do it perfectly? No, but I do find that I do it pretty well. So thinking about like, what are your gifts? So I would encourage you to evaluate the things you naturally do well. The things that people have come to you and said, I needed this, so I knew I had to come to you for it. Whether it be a service, whether it be an experience, whether it be just a feeling. People would tell me, Leandra, I just want to talk to you because I just want to feel encouraged. I would get that type of energy. Just kind of like taking some moments to reflect, like what are those moments when people have come to me and say that I do something really well? Okay, first thing. Second thing is evaluate the moments when you feel the most alive. So these are moments where it's just like a peak of happiness or a peak of joy. Like, and maybe you're already a joyful person, you're pretty positive, right? So maybe you are these things, but maybe when does it increase even more? When does it even go to the next level? And sometimes we can be at work and we can have these moments where it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Or is anybody else as excited as I am in this moment? Like those are the moments you want to take note of, because in those moments can really define the thing that you are good at and also the thing that you really enjoy doing. And I have these moments, I wouldn't say all the time, but there are moments when I'm in a coaching session and I'm just like so alive, like this, I'm in the zone. And, or even just a conversation with people, like it's just so amazing sometimes. So you're just thinking about what are those moments you feel alive. Okay, so far, first thing is what are the things that you're good at, that you're naturally gifted in? Number two, what are the moments you feel alive? This can be work, school, at home with your kids. Think about those things. Along with that is what are things that you would do for free? Okay, now you are worth so much. Please know this, okay? You are worth. And just as like a rhetorical question or philosophical question, what is something that you would do for free? And yeah, I sit and listen to people all the time for free. whether it's invited or not invited, like I'm always doing it in some way. But again, I enjoy doing it. So what are those things that you just would know that you would just do for free? Now, sometimes when we think about these things, we might say, oh, the things that come up for me are things that you can't really get paid for. I would say that there is maybe some truth to it, but have you done exploration? Because we live in 2024. There are so many positions that are out there that were not even invented 2 months ago. So the world is growing, moving very, very fast. So there is something out there for you. I can guarantee that. And if you want support to find it, I'm right here. Just reach out. I'll be happy to support you. So the other question is, and that I will end with this in this coaching aspect of things, is now the things that make you feel alive, the things that you enjoy doing, the gifts that God has given you, how can you make it profitable? Now, I do believe God has given us gifts to encourage others, and we gotta survive in this world. So what are ways that you can make it profitable? It's a side gig, an LLC, you started with a friend. What are ways you can take the thing that you love doing and make it turn into money? Okay. And sometimes we can be really, even myself, I can like start something and say, ooh, fast money. This gonna turn into millions of dollars tomorrow. And then I'm a bit disappointed when a month goes by and it doesn't. So I think making money, the desire to do so is a good desire, but when we take it and make it everything, or when maybe we have our expectations are too exorbitant, then we just got to reel it back in. Okay. And have a plan. Like what is the goal for Q1, Q2, Q3, 4? I should probably do a podcast about business and bring in some other guests too. We'll see. But what are ways to make it profitable? This on the coaching side of things. Again, there are a lot of things to think about. And even if you've been in your career for a long time, I think these are still some great questions to think about, because we can get into a path that we just got on, and we just got on that path and kept going. And then we look back 10 years later and say, how did I get here? Now I've created this brand that I don't even want, but all my experiences point to this brand. So something to keep in mind as you continue your search. Love it. So that's the coaching side of things. Now let's look at more of the strategy piece. Now this is for folks where you say, I am very clear on my gifts. I know my brand. I have been in my field for a good amount of years, and I'm looking for a new position. Whether I'm still working at my old position, they don't know that I'm looking to leave, or maybe I was laid off. This next piece is for you. We've already talked about the job market, where the job market's at right now, and it's really bad. Okay, it's just really bad. But is it possible to find your next position? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Another client I worked with, well, actually, this is a client through a colleague that I work with in the same organization, emailed us today saying he landed his position. This is December 2024. So there are possibilities to apply and get the position you're looking for. The reason I share the stats with you is not to make it discouraging, but just to show the reality of the situation. And also just say, like, okay, if you've applied for 100 positions, that is a lot, yes, and keep applying. This is the average. Most people are experiencing what you're experiencing. That does not degrade or take away from what you're feeling at all, but this is also the reality that we're in at this moment. So in order to keep up, that's not a good word, but in order to meet the goals that we want, which is find that next position, we just need to know what the job market looks like. And again, this points to the industry that you're in. I think every industry is a bit different. Healthcare, even during COVID, healthcare didn't lose a beat. Okay. Healthcare seems to always be doing well in different economies, but in every other industry, it is a bit difficult. So please keep that in mind and give yourself grace because it can be a lot. Along with the strategy piece, I would encourage finding community. What are other friends, family members that are also on their job search? You probably have more in common with them than you think, even if you're in two different industries. If you know where you both are looking, one, look out for each other. If I see something, I'll reach out, vice versa. But you can probably share tips and strategies of what you're using. And it can be very supportive towards helping you feel encouraged, letting you know that you're not alone in this walk, and overall support you towards your end goal. Now, maybe you're that person that's applied to like 300, 400 jobs by this point. And I'm not saying that things are wrong, but maybe let's say things are wrong. Meaning the documents you are using. So I would take some time, if you haven't yet, just have someone evaluate your documents. This could be a career coach, myself. This could be a family member who's in the industry. This could be a network connection that you made and you just want them to review your resume, but have someone look over it. And maybe you've been applying, and you haven't gotten the results you wanted. Maybe there might be some tweaks that need to be made to fit more of what you're looking for and to get a better result and feedback. Some of this is kind of tweaking and adjusting and retrying to get better feedback. So I definitely encourage having your resume reviewed. Your resume should be no longer than 2 pages. I think that's like come on, Leandria, like that's basics, you would think. But make sure your resume is not longer than 2 pages. I would even say keep it to 1.5 pages max. Make it very easy to find what you want the employers to find. Sometimes I think even myself, I can be so connected to my work that I try to put more on the page just in case they need to see it. Okay. Just in case they might come across it. I put it on the resume when it's not really needed. I don't need to put it there. So really focus on the things that you want them to see are very important. Make sure those are at the top because they will go to the second page, but they're not going to spend too much time on it. Okay. Out of 6 to 8 seconds, they'll probably spend 4 to 5 seconds on the first page and the last 2 to 3 on the second page. Along with your resume, make sure your LinkedIn is also aligned to your brand. Resumes can be great, but LinkedIn can be your resume can be great. And I've seen cases where the LinkedIn is not great. So just make sure that it is aligned and consistent across all platforms. So you're applying, but as I mentioned earlier, applying only won't give you the results you're looking for. So you also want to do some networking. And let me just rephrase that word. You want to do some relationship building, okay? Talking with people who are in your circle, in your industry, coworkers, previous coworkers, family, friends. These are all people that you can network with. And you can also build a new network. So last year, at the beginning of 2023, I did a network mania. I was not sure what to call it, but I went on a sprint. There we go. I went on a networking sprint, and my goal was to use LinkedIn. I did sign up as a business owner, I did sign up for a sales navigator, I think. And then I just started sending messages out to people, random people that I didn't know, but that maybe they want to work with a coach. Who knows? And I started sending out these messages. I started having these conversations, great conversations with a lot of great people. Some of it didn't lead anywhere. Some of it led to coaching opportunities. I recently was hired as a contractor with someone that I met through that to be a part of their coaching business that they're creating. Someone reached out to me to help them build their resume. So many great things came out of that season of just networking. So I do encourage networking and building connections while you're in this job search, but I wouldn't use it just as to get a job, because people can smell that real quick, that you're only talking to me to use me. And that is not the greatest taste that you want to leave in someone's mouth. So I would encourage, yes, and the secondary benefit to this connection is job searching. I'm trying to find a job. But the primary connection or primary reason should be, I just want to build an authentic, genuine connection with you. And really letting them know that up front. And that's something I said over and over and over. People would ask me, what do you want to cover in this? And they'll send a message saying, what do you plan to cover in this conversation? What are the expectations that you have? And I would just say, I genuinely just want to connect with you based on your experiences. I think it's great to build a connection. And we would meet, and they would be like, so is there anything that you're looking for? And again, I would say, no, I'm just looking to build connection. And then I would share about myself. And if I felt like it's something I wanted to continue, I would ask for another meeting. If it felt like this has been good, but I don't think there's nothing else to gain from this, I left it at that. But it was a great way for me to really be able to articulate who I am as a business owner, as a coach. But it was also just a great opportunity to build connections with other professionals. And I do not lie, I'm still talking to some of these people to this day. So I do encourage the building connection piece. You're doing it for the temporary goal of getting a job, but also just really want to encourage you to see it for the long-term benefits. And people like people they want to work with, and people will look out for you. Okay? They will see your spirit. They will see the goodness that you bring, the genuineness, authenticity, and they will look out for you, because authenticity nowadays, that's a whole conversation. So authenticity nowadays is lacking. Okay? So I hope you all see my genuineness in these conversations. And then lastly, when it comes to the career strategy piece, I'm really touching the surface, but I do encourage you, if you do want to have a conversation about this, to reach out. My link for a 30-minute discovery call is in the chat. I'm so used to being on Zoom. Is in the description. So please check that out. You'll see my website, and then you'll also see my scheduling link. If you're watching this in December, the availability is hit or miss because we're in December and I try to find time to rest during this month. But please reach out. And my email will be in the chat. My email will be in the description too. So if you can't find a time, just email me and I would love to find a time to connect. The last thing I want to leave you with, and this is for both categories, around coaching, around strategy, is being consistent. There is so much power in the name of Jesus, but also there is so much power in being consistent. And consistent means even when you get another email that says, we're sorry, we're not moving forward, tomorrow, you're going to still put in those 3 to 4 applications. Is there benefit of resting, taking a break, recharging? Yes, absolutely. So please hear what I'm saying, that we want to be consistent. Of course, you want to create time to rest, especially when you're in just burnout and you are dreading every application, every conversation, you are dreading it. You're currently probably in burnout, about to reach it, or you're in it. But ultimately, being consistent is going to help towards landing those interviews. Because again, it's a quality game, but it's also a numbers game. So be consistent. Be consistent in the applications you're putting out. Be consistent in how many connections you're saying that you will build each week. I'm going to send out 10 connection messages each week with the hope that I get 2 back. Be consistent with not only going on these job boards like LinkedIn, Indeed, and the other ones, but also find like the companies you want to work for and be very targeted and intentional. Reach out to the folks that work at these companies, whether it be a family friend, whether you're building the connection yourself. There is a lot of opportunity here to, yes, search for a job, but also create new connections that will support you throughout your career. And then lastly, I do want to just end with the question, does God care? I can put all the strategies in place. I can get all the clarity around coaching, but does God really care about my career? Because in this moment, I feel so lost. I feel like there is no effort that I'm making. I feel that I'm just going in circles. And I do want to encourage you that He does care. He absolutely cares. This can definitely, where you are in your walk, in your job search, everyone is different. But I will say this is a moment of trust and a moment of faith that God is calling you to. And whether you're believing God or not, it's still going to be a moment of trust and faith that you're going to get this job, okay? So if you believe in a higher power, that there is a God out there, yes, he cares about you and he cares about your job search, that he puts people in your life that can give you the encouragement that you need. I believe you watching this video or listening to this is not a coincidence, that hopefully this provides some encouragement, even maybe some laughs here or there. But ultimately, continue to apply. If you know you've been doing this by yourself and have not been getting the results you're looking for, sometimes God calls us to reach out and ask for help. It is a humble act to ask for help. It really is, because you're putting aside that I can do this by myself and you're saying, I might need someone to help me out. So if you are that person, or maybe you're not, but you know you need help, then feel free to reach out. Again, I'm a coach, but my goal in terms of coaching is really supporting people towards their dreams, towards their goals, towards the potential that's within them. So if you know that like you need someone to just be there to support you, please reach out. I'm happy to do that. So God does care. He's giving you gifts for a reason. Those gifts will not be put, like he doesn't want you to put those gifts to waste. Okay. He's going to help you find that job. But a lot of it's being consistent, trusting, having faith, reaching out for help, and putting your best foot forward with every application. Some applications are going to be really quick. Some applications are going to be, I really don't care about this job, but this is going to help me hit my number. That's real. You put in the application. But I would say a lot of them should be, I really do like this position. I like what they're doing and I want to apply. We need to have a whole other conversation about salary and how to work through that. I have seen that salaries aren't really skyrocketing given the economy that we're in. So I would say also just be mindful of your expectations around salary. Do your research of how much you should be making, what your range is, and that bottom number should be what you're extremely comfortable with. It shouldn't be, I hope they don't ask me to do that, because they're going to give you the lower number. If you say the lower number, they're going to offer that to you. So just make sure it's something that you're comfortable with the range. And also just be mindful of the market that you're in. If you're asking for 150 and your market is only doing 110, that's something to be mindful of. I got to do a whole other conversation around that. But ultimately, God does care. He's right there with you. He's guiding you along the way. And be open to the possibilities, because sometimes we can be saying no to the very thing that would give us the next opportunity. This has been so good, so good. And I want to thank you for listening, for tuning in. And we're going to continue this conversation. And subscribe, check me out on my website. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Spotify, YouTube, IG. Overall, feel free to reach out. I want to be of support to you. And this has been great. And this is the Freedom and Flow podcast, and signing off with overall encouraging you to live in freedom. Embrace the flow, especially during this job season, this job search season. Embrace the flow and live in your purpose, because you have purpose and God is right there with you, guiding you to that purpose, one step closer. All right, well, have a great one. And until next time, love ya.